Hi y'all. Today we're going to be making easy English muffins. This is a recipe my son and I found on the internet. You start with a teaspoon and a half of active yeast, and I use Fleischmann's. There's a teaspoon, and there's a half. Then it calls for 1/4 of a cup of all-purpose flour. There you go. And we like to add a little bit of sugar to ours, even though the recipe doesn't call for it. And I'm going to do 2 teaspoons. And that helps the yeast rise and ferment a little bit. And then your hot water needs to be hot so that your yeast will activate. Then you just whisk it up. It's going to get a little foamy. Make sure you get all the flour off the edges of the bowl. And that's what it looks like. Now we're going to let this sit for 10 minutes to rise. And then we'll come back and we'll work on getting the dough. Alright, it's been 10 minutes and now our base is ready to go. So to this, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of oil. And it says just to drizzle it in. And I've got all my stuff already sitting out for us, so it shouldn't take us but a minute. Then it calls for 1/4 of a cup of warm water. Calls for a teaspoon of kosher salt, but I just use regular salt. Calls for 1 egg white. So all you do is you crack your egg, open the shell, and then you're just going to leave the egg white in the shell.
The egg yolk.
The egg yolk, yep. There you go. There's your egg white. I will use that later when I make something else. Then it calls for 1 cup and 3/4 of flour, and I've got that measured out already. You can do all this while your stuff rises. And then my son likes for me to add a little bit more sugar to the dough. And this is making your dough. And this is a teaspoon, so I might add another 2 teaspoons of sugar. Hold on just a minute. I forgot my spoon. And then you're just going to fold it around and mix it up. Where is it? And this is going to be kind of a loose, flaky to begin with, but they want you to have it wet. Now if it's not wet, then you'll add a little bit more water till you get it wet. See, mine right now is still not looking wet. And make sure you mix that egg white in there. Sometimes it doesn't want to mix with the dough. So I'm going to get some more warm water. And then you're just going to do it by eye. Pour some more water in until you get it wet. Now you want to make sure everything is mixed up. So you're going to have a wet dough, so this is why it's going to rise better when you have a wet dough. Alright. That's it until it rises, and we're going to give it 2 hours to rise, and then we'll come back and show you what it looks like. Alrighty. Okay. As you can see, our dough has risen, about doubled in size. We've kept it in a warm spot, covered so that it could do that. Now what we want to do is pull it away from the sides and pour it out onto some flour. Now I'm still using the all-purpose flour for this because we don't want to mess up the rise. You're going to need a lot of it because this is going to be very wet. So what you do is you pull it away from the sides. You see all that air bubbles? And then you're going to pour it out onto your flour. It's very sticky. Alright. Now you're going to flour your hands because you're going to need this dough. And it's very wet. Alright. Just kind of fold that flour into your dough. Because once you get it all floured up, you're going to cut it.
I'm going to stop you right here.
Now our flour is ready. So we're going to cut it into sections. And you're going to make your dough, your muffins out of each section. 2 to 3. The recipe says it makes 6. I a lot of times get more than that. But you're going to just kind of roll it in your hands, get you a smooth kind of ball. And then you're going to, I've made this tray up with cornmeal on it, and you're going to put the top on, and then you're going to roll it over, let it sit, kind of shape it to where you want it, and that's your English muffin to rise. Some of these will be bigger than others. I don't make mine uniform because they don't want you to roll it out. They just want it to be nice and soft. Now these will rise once we put them out for a couple of hours. Actually, I think we let it rise for an hour and a half. You just cut your doughs into sections. Like I said, this is kind of, they're still wet. Keep your hands floured. And you want the smooth side to be up to rise. Now, I've only been done this a couple of times, so sometimes they don't look too pretty. But they don't have to be, because once you get done, you're going to fry them. But you want to coat your muffin. Just kind of stretch it around a little bit, get it nice and smooth. Got more than 6. Looks like this batch I'm going to be making 8. Now you got to remember, these are still kind of wet, so they're pliable. So you're just going to kind of round them out. And give them plenty of room. And then we're going to set those in our oven to sit for an hour and a half to let them rise. Be back in a minute. Okay, we're back. Now here's my muffins. They've just come out of my oven where I had them sitting so they'd be in a nice warm spot. Did not turn the oven on. It's just in there so it's nice and quiet. Alright, so I put butter on my grill. I've got my grill set at about 300. Pull them off the plate and put them on your grill. I use a pastry knife because that seems to make it a little bit easier to get them up. Now, I try to be as careful as I can with these so they don't deflate. And I have had issues where when they do deflate, then they end up too flat. Yeah, these aren't coming off very good either. Alright, so you let them sit there undisturbed. So they brown on one side, then you're going to flip them over and brown them on the other. As you can see, I've already flipped them. It's been about 3 minutes. You have to let them sit still, let them bake, because that's what they're doing, is they're just baking on your griddle. Just watch, every periodic, lift them up, see how brown they are, so that you don't overcook them. Now, it looks like today we've had a couple that may not be rise enough. They're still going to be edible. You just have a little bit harder time of cutting them open because you're going to cut them in half to make your English muffin. I use butter. You can use oil instead. I prefer the taste of the butter. The hardest part is sitting and waiting on them to finish cooking or browning so that you can look at them. Now see, this one looks like it's got pretty good depth to it. And so does this one. So they may come out okay. The thing with English muffins and any kind of dough, it's all trial and error. Sometimes they'll come out, sometimes they won't. Alright, here's our finished English muffins. Now, they're still a little warm, but normally you would let them get cool. And see, then you've got the width there. You're just going to insert your knife and cut all the way around. And there's your English muffin. Ready to put butter or whatever you want on them. Well, that's it for today. Thank you. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And please, share, like,
comment,
and let me know how it's doing.